What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes Show. Shake off the rust, Scott. We're back to nightly recaps of the Yankees. Hopefully, deep playoff run. Game 1 in the books. They won. They won, baby.
You got to take that lead, man. This was an interesting game. This whole thing was back and forth, and it really didn't look like Cole had his best stuff from the jump. So it kind of looked like it was going to be potentially a long night. And what time did that game end? Was it every bit of 3 hours, right? It felt long. Was it just me, or did Costas have to mention the time of game like 4 times in the ninth inning? I think it was a 3-hour, 20-minute game. He's like, is that what he said? Yeah,
no one's complaining about the 3-hour, 20-minute game.
By the time the ninth inning rolled
around,
Bob
Costas is still calling games, by the way.
By the time the ninth inning rolled around, I completely tuned out Bob Costas at that point. It was done. When he started talking about and bringing back up the fact that he interviewed Ichiro, and that interview that everybody sees with him speaking English, he brought that back up again. I'm like, man, Costas is just going back through all his hits.
The old thing.
Going back to the hits. But yeah, it was a back and forth game, and Colt definitely did not have his best stuff, right? Like he was leaving balls over the plate. He was a lot more hittable. I thought he started actually pitching better towards the end of the game, and I was surprised Boone pulled him at 80 pitches. I wouldn't say surprised, but I think he could have gone another couple batters. I think he was actually coming into his own because he had a really good 5th inning. But he didn't have his best stuff overall, and the Royals took advantage of that, and they made a lot of contact. Let me
put it to you this way. 5 hours ago, if someone told you tonight Cole's going to get hit around pretty good through 5 innings, the Yankees are going to go 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position and leave 11 guys on base, and Volpe's going to make an error with men on base with the Royals on base, you'd think there's no freaking way they're winning this game.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like this one was an ugly game.
They
probably should not have won this game, but they
definitely
did.
Not.
And that's a really good sign. That's a good sign. Maybe that's back to your little AL Central thing here. It's like you can only play yourself as bad as possible against these AL Central teams. But the Yankees definitely ran themselves into outs. The base running again was not the greatest, and
looked like a baseball team that hadn't played in a week.
Yeah, man, it did until they started looking better. And then I gotta tell you, the bullpen locked down. The bullpen was good.
Was locked down. Yeah, I mean. Obviously, Hill comes in, gives up. He's unearned run charge to Hill, and then 1 unearned run charge to Cole. But then the bullpen of Holmes, Canley, Weaver were shut down.
Absolutely, and they controlled Bobby Witt again, and that's the name.
Judge
of the game
made a great play in the first inning.
He did.
That ball's rocking. I think it was like that's a double, maybe triple off the bat.
It looked like it was going to hit the gap, but he definitely had a good beat on it. So, I mean, you know, 1 step of his is like 3 steps of any other normal human being. So, he was able to flag that thing down, but they kept him off the base path. And that last, we're going to jump around here. The last at bat to Witt, that ball was down. It was down, but it's a 3-2 count. You taking that pitch is risky because the strike zone was relatively tight today. He wasn't giving a lot of corners on the side on the sides of the plate. The lower strike was definitely being called. Soto got punched out, which I thought was a strike. But that ball to Witt was definitely low, and he was not happy about it because that would have been if Witt's on base,
runner on first with 1 out.
It's also Bobby Witt on first base who
stealing.
Damn well he's running.
Yep.
So it makes that situation much different. But to Weaver's credit, man, he pitched a hell of a job and got a 4-out save. So he's the guy. He's the guy right now. He's definitely stepping up and being that guy. And also, credit to Clay Holmes. He came in and he pitched in 2 innings. Got out of the
because if he doesn't pitch well, that game could get out of hand in the wrong way.
100%. And he pitched really well. He got the ground balls he needed to. And in the 7th, he shut down 3, 4, 5 in the in the Royals order. So he came in at a point where it was 5-5 at that point in the game. So it was tie game. He's in. That's a high leverage situation, obviously.
I mean, anything in the playoffs, if it's a close game, is high leverage.
But he got the meat of the order too. I mean, he was in there. There was a lot of trust given to him.
And his last time facing the Royals, I know he blew a save. That was one of I think his last blown save of the season came against Kansas City late in September at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. So
But like with these extra off days, you can stretch all of these bullpen arms. It's just these off days are throwing me for a loop, man. It's just it feels so weird you don't play for a week, you start your series, you're all juiced up, and you sit for another day. It's like what the hell?
Well, and that's also why they mentioned this on the broadcast early, but the off days with the way that they're set up is you're not going to see the starter. If the starter gets in trouble at a certain point, they're going to get pulled. Cole was pulled at 80 pitches.
So let's talk about that, because I know you were saying,
and then Waka was pulled at 70. Waka was pulled extremely early as well.
And Wheeler for the Phillies was pulled with like a one hitter going at 100 pitches.
Yeah, he was.
Then they blew that, but this is not a Phillies podcast, so we won't talk about it.
But they play tomorrow, right? Don't they play tomorrow?
I don't know. I
think they do. So they don't have the day off.
So you said you didn't necessarily agree, or I know there was some criticism, like why you bring in Cole back out there for the 6th inning. He had been hit around pretty good, hadn't looked super sharp in that game. He's at 80 pitches. I don't know if there was a lot of criticism, but I think it's a second guess, especially when you pull him the moment the first guy gets on, right? So,
I would have continued to stretch him. That's the thing. Like in the 5th inning, when he comes back and he has a clean inning against the top of the order, he's at 78 pitches through 5 innings at that point. And that was his best inning. I thought that was his best inning. And when Cole has his best inning in the 5th, to me, that's like he's settled into the game. He's getting stronger,
So the 5th inning was against the heart of the order, right?
Yeah, and then he comes in the 6th, gives up the Gurriel single immediately, and then is pulled. So there was a quick hook for him coming out.
Well, it was batter to batter
for him coming out.
I hate the batter to batter thing. I know the Yankees do it all the time. It's just like I just feel like that the pitcher then has to be perfect because he knows he's batter to batter.
I mean, that's what it is now, though. When you have this many bullpen arms that are going to be available because of the off day, you're just going to go to the next guy if someone's not doing it immediately, and they're going to play the matchups.
5th inning, he gets Witt to fly out to right, Pasquantino to strike out, and then Perez to fly out. It's a 1-2-3 5th, comes back out after the Yankees take the lead and gets yanked after the single to Gurriel.
Yeah, so overall, like again, I think he was settling into the game, and I think, I think it was just at that point they had available arms to play more matchups, and they were going to do that. That's just what they were. And
but you go to Hill there.
I don't have a huge problem with them going away from Cole. Like I probably would have gone Cole. I would have pushed him a little bit more, but it's to me it's not a huge deal because of the amount of pitching and the fact that he was around the plate a lot tonight. He was definitely hitting a lot of bats. So and I think it's fine.
Like obviously we've seen flashes of Cole this year look every bit of the Cy Young Cole, but I mean we also would we give him for a grade, a B- or whatever it was for a reason. It's because he has not been locked down Garrett Cole this season. So you're going to have to play it a little bit differently. Hopefully he has a great playoff start his next time out, but this was not a great playoff start, even if he had a good 5th inning.
Yeah, and to Tim Hill's credit, he walked in the game, got the ground ball, and unfortunately Volpe just sailed it into center field or into right field after making a pretty good play on the with the glove. But you can't do that in that moment. He cannot do that, especially a guy that's just not hitting or hasn't been hitting. Right. He's got to play damn good defense. And at that point, I think he had more time. He was trying to turn a double play, which would have been tough in the first place. But I think he just rushed that throw and then it got away from him. And that's a terrible, at that point, both runners are moving up. So you can now have 2 runners in scoring position. The Yankees play their infield in with 1 out, which, you could think a certain way about that. I would have played corners in, middle back, but again, that would have saved 1 run. They would have given up 1, but 2 runs scored on that single, and that's a huge swing again. So it's just going back and forth, taking the lead, giving the lead up, taking the lead, giving the lead up, and at that point, that was the swing moment, and they took the lead.
The fact that the Yankees were able to overcome all of that stuff and win the game, I think is
with Verdugo and Glaber being in the middle of a lot of it too.
Yes, we're going to talk about each of them individually in a bit, but just the fact that the team was able to overcome a lot of mistakes tonight and a lot of sloppy play, because ordinarily you make a couple of wrong moves in the playoffs, that's going to cost you a playoff game.
100%. And the fact that if you told me that the Royals had won or had scored 6 runs or 5 runs.
5.
I thought that's you better outslug them, and they didn't really outslug them tonight. They gave them a lot of opportunities.
They got a lot of opportunities,
but they just kind of willed their way to win in this game. Some good 2-out hitting, but they scored bad on the for runners in scoring position as a whole. It was a bad look.
What did I say? 2 for 11 or whatever it was. I mean, the Yankees could have had 9 or 10 or 11 runs tonight with a couple more hits.
It didn't feel like 6 runs.
That first inning. Okay, so I don't want to shit all over Judge for one bad game, but he comes up in 2 different situations. The first inning with 2nd and 3rd, and then I forget what inning it was where they had all those walks and it was the bases loaded and he struck out, I believe, with 1 out. You got to come through in one of those situations with just a sac fly or something like that. Keep the positive things going there to keep the line moving. Instead, the strikeout in the first inning is deflating, and they don't get any runs in that first inning. You got the ground ball with Glaber. Was it a contact play? Was he trying to make a read on where the ground ball was? Just not a good base running play. Getting thrown out at home in the first inning.
That first inning play. So a lot of people were say that it's contact, and if it was contact, because the Yankees do that, right? That's something that the Yankees have. They do it. Their analytics department says do it, so they do it. And in that case, if that was a run on contact play, he did not run on contact. He was a little bit behind, and he was going to be out by a mile. So I don't understand that contact play in that situation. I really don't. If you just stay put, and I know it didn't work out anyway because Stanton didn't do anything, but you sit on the bag and just wait, and you take your shot with 2 outs and second
and third. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's either 1st and 3rd 2 outs or 2nd and 3rd 2 outs. Clearly, there's the better option there.
And when you have the mandate to run with 2 out, or run with on contact, if you have that mandate, then every single person better be like busting their ass off the crack of the bat at that point. If you're going to do that, you better run as fast as you possibly can immediately. And it just didn't feel like that was the case. So you can't do halfway. If you're going to depend on the Yankees being good base runners to do that thing and be like timely, then just stay where you are, please. And let's go station to station, get some hits, and then we'll be all right that way.
The Yankees have made the most outs on the base paths this season.
Yeah. And it's gonna bite them if they continue to do this. They ran into some outs today, but luckily they were able to get away.
Is it going to bite them because the seas have parted for the AL Central road to the World Series?
Yeah, I know you're gonna have to go through 2 of them now, though. So we'll see what happens.
I mean,
but tonight, man, was one of those. Was one of those you look up and you're like, shit, I can't believe we won that game.
Stole it a little bit.
I wouldn't say they stole it because the Royals gave them opportunities, but
the Royals didn't play well either. But the Yankees, you see, that's the reason, not to go down a tangent here. I've been saying this. My dad keeps saying, like, why do you say they should go to the World Series? This team has so many flaws. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of flaws, but look at the competition. They're also flawed and with less talent. So
well, that's the thing. There are no great teams in the American. Certainly not now. There's not any other great teams. Like by far, they are the most talented team.
I didn't think Baltimore and Houston were great teams either. But at least with Baltimore, you're like on paper, there's a lot of talent there. So if they start playing well, that could be a difficult series. And Houston scared me just because of their playoff experience. And both of those teams were knocked out early because they're flawed teams and not great teams. Like, fine, credit to where credit is due for Kansas City and Detroit for winning those series. But there's no excuses for the Yankees now. And it might be the Guardians. I know the Guardians rolled in their first game today. But even if it is the Guardians, like, there's no excuses, guys. It's this year or never. This is the year. This is the road. This is a smooth, flat, paved road for you.
It is right in front of them.
Oh,
it is right in front of them.
Where'd you hear that?
Everything is right in front of them. But yeah, a couple other moments in this game too is I'm trying to think. First of all, I saw on camera, we're talking about Judge having 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. There's definitely a moment where they were caught on camera where Rizzo is like really in the batting video with him and talking about mechanics. You could tell he's even like showing him things with his back. I'm like, man, that's not a good sign. And I know
when Rizzo showing him.
Well, anybody honestly talking like that deeply with mechanics by like showing him something physically and what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because what it looked like it was happening was that Rizzo was showing Judge what was going on with his stance or something, like why certain things were not happening. And I just don't like that. I don't like that because Aaron Judge is usually not in that situation and not taking, he studies the film. There's no doubt about it. But there was something like he just didn't know, like he couldn't feel it or something. And that does concern me a bit.
Well, wouldn't you prefer it's mechanical that he can fix? And, sometimes a mechanical fix is.
No, I want him to feel good. I just want his body to feel good.
I think that's the thing. I mean, think about it. The last time he played in the regular season, he struck out 5 times. He sits for 5 days, comes in a playoff game. There's a lot of pressure on him because he's going to win the MVP this year. He's never had a good postseason. So there's pressure on him, and he comes up in a couple big spots and he doesn't get it done. That doesn't mean he's going to have a terrible postseason, but there's pressure on him, and he's no dummy. He's going to feel that pressure.
So probably the moment of the game is in the 7th inning. Jazz leadoff single, awesome right there. Volpe, which I'm going to give Volpe a little bit of credit. I just shit on him because of that throw, and he did strike out in this at bat. But the at bat before that, at least he was taking pitches.
The one he didn't swing the bat.
He did not. He was taking a lot of pitches, and he was taking strikes that were on the corners as well. But he was taking pitches. When I see him doing that, I'm like, okay, this is a good sign. At least he's spitting on these balls. He's not over swinging going in there. So he worked the count multiple times. Got to walk.
Sure, there wasn't something in his eye, and he just couldn't see the pitch.
Yeah, no. He was working the count. His eyes were right on the pitches, even outside the zone too. He was following it all the way in. It looked like he could see the ball clearly, and was reading the ball well today. So that's good. The last pitch he struck out, not so great. But on that pitch, Jazz goes and steals second base. And you could see that he had a terrible jump. It was a bad jump. Lorenzen was keeping him close to the bag. He had thrown over once already, but was keeping him close to the bag. And he got a terrible jump. And I know that the call on the field was safe, and that's probably why it stayed the way it did, because of the call on the field. But I'm sorry, I saw a gap. I could see a little sliver of brown between his heel and between that bag. And I could see the glove was on, and maybe it was because in that view you couldn't 1,000% tell that the glove was on, but you can see the other angle where the glove is on, and you can't see the side of the bag right there, so it's on because you saw it from the other angle. So he called. They said safe. I thought he was out.
So I was listening to the game at this point, and Susan actually, with some good insight, said. They said the call on the field stands, which means there's not enough evidence to overturn. If they say the call on the field is confirmed, that means there's enough evidence to confirm what the call was. If they just say the call on the field stands, that means we couldn't overturn it, basically. And I know that's the is it a rule or whatever? I don't know.
You just got to default to what's on the field. It's similar to football. That's just what they do.
But
they
that
have to
also
have overwhelming evidence for the contrary.
Evidence. But like at this point, we've got high speed 4K
I know.
cameras.
Yeah, just figure it out. Just get it right. Yes, I know. We've talked about this in the past. This is the flaw in. I mean, it worked out for the Yankees this time, no doubt. So I'm not complaining about it. But yeah, it's the flaw in the system is that. Who cares what the guy, the human being out there called? Like, that's the whole reason we're doing this is to see if that guy was right or wrong.
Put another camera. Do you need more cameras?
Just tell me he was right or wrong.
Go get more cameras. Like, whatever.
If we could see it at home that he was out, then they could see it in New York in their booth.
I know.
So I don't get it. Yeah, but he was, and that was a huge play, obviously, because at that point, he's standing on second base. And then Verdugo walks up, starting left fielder, and gets a base hit.
Let's talk about him. But first, we're brought to you today by Babbel. Guess what's right around the corner, Scott? New year and those resolutions we all make but never stick to. If learning a new language is on your resolutions list, Babbel can help you achieve it. Babbel gets you talking in another language because their courses are designed by real people for real conversations. Their lessons are quick, just 10 minutes long, so you don't get overwhelmed with information, and the courses are handcrafted by over 200 language experts, ready to get you talking your new language in as little as 3 weeks. And if you need more proof that Babbel gets you talking, studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and other leading universities continue to prove Babbel works. One study even found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college in a language course, which makes you wonder, why would you ever pay for college if you just do Babbel? With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee, so there is no pressure. Here's a special deal for our listeners. You can get 60% off right now your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Bronx. 60% off at babbel.com/Bronx, spelled BABBEL.com/Bronx. Rules and restrictions may apply. Starting left fielder had a pretty good night.
He did. He had a pretty good night. He
Two
went,
hits, including the go-ahead RBI hit.
2 for 3 with a walk.
Okay, on base 3 times.
Yeah, made a nice play in left field, keeping I forget who it was to a single that a lot of guys very well play that ball a little differently, and the runner is standing on second base. So yeah, he played well. You can't say anything negative about this. This is when we were doing the preview, when Logan and I were doing the preview, we saw,
which I definitely listened to.
Yeah, we saw the starting, and we're like, he's definitely going to be in at least 2 of these games. He's going to be in at least 2 of these games because of the pitching matchups, of course. So, he had matchups. He had matchups, and they were positive. And the defense, you're just not gonna put Dominguez out there because of that.
If Dominguez was hitting in his limited time in the playoffs, at least then there's an argument. But when he wasn't hitting either, I actually side with the Yankees on this one.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's impossible to say anything contrary.
And why even at this point,
and me be able to have any faith in what I'm saying.
They went with Verdugo in game 1. If he went 0 for 4 tonight, does that mean they're going to go to Dominguez the next night? Who the hell knows? But at this point, Verdugo had a good game. So you ride that at this point. You ride the hot hand.
So here's the thing. Tomorrow Monday, we got a lefty. So Reagans is throwing. So they don't like Dominguez from the right side though either. So
I just think with the
if
defense
Verdugo
being
starts game
questionable,
2, if he starts game 2 though, he's going to be starting against a lefty also.
But like he just had a great night with including the go ahead hit. Like
I know.
I think you kind of just have to ride the hot hand.
We'll see. I don't have a problem if they start him, to be honest, at this point. If the numbers for and I didn't say this the other day, but the numbers for Dominguez aren't good from the right side against who they believe, if this type of pitcher, then they're going to start Verdugo.
What numbers are we talking about with Dominguez at this point? Like he's had how many major league at bats? Like,
yeah, I know.
Throw the numbers out and just play the guy who's playing well.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a valid point. I think in the playoffs at this point, you play who's hot. You just roll with what you got if it's working.
Yes.
If it's not working, you make a change.
Because how many times have we seen guys just out of nowhere get hot and have a good month in the playoffs? And you're like, wait, that guy is winning ALCS MVP. What the hell is going on?
And I will say this, if you have, let's say you do start him, Verdugo that is, on Monday, and there are, maybe he has a couple bad at-bats, and then there's an opportunity for Dominguez to hit. Because of the way that they did the postseason roster, and they added more position players, they have the ability to have someone go play defense for Dominguez, even with another outfielder off the bench, even if it's just for a couple, an at-bat or 2.
Was the roster out when you guys did your preview?
No.
So,
but we pretty much called it pretty damn close.
No Leiter,
Duke
which
Ellis
we talked
was
about.
The guy.
Yeah, Duke Ellis there for some pinch running situations. No Leiter, which we talked about as a real possibility because of how bad he'd been since they acquired him. And Stroman not being there as well because of all the off days.
I think the only thing that we changed is that we mentioned Duke Ellis as an option, but then I think we talked ourselves out of it by the end, saying that we should probably have one more pitcher. Just because of I think it was because I saw Stroman's splits, his most recent numbers against Kansas City. I thought maybe they would go with him because he's had some recent success with them.
I know, but like, when's he going to pitch?
Yeah, I know. And Duke Ellis, like the only time that guy's coming in the game, I don't want him going out and play defense. I don't know what he is. He could be a great defender in the minor leagues, but I don't know. But the only time he's going to come out there is if there's a, one out, runner on first base. They need that run. If he's the go-ahead run or extra innings, and there's a runner at second base, he's gonna pinch it.
They also said
run,
Schmidt is going to get game 3 unless he pitches in one of the first 2 games. Obviously, he didn't pitch in the first game. He could very well pitch in the second game. That just seems like a weird way to approach it. Don't you agree?
I think that they're both. I think that Clark Schmidt's the only one available out of the bullpen. I think that's basically what it is. He's available out of the bullpen, so a bullpen mindset. But if he doesn't get the work, if he's not up and throwing, he's going to be the starter.
So what are they saying?
I don't think that messes with him.
What are they saying is more important then?
I think they're just saying Heal's not going to be in the bullpen. That's really more what it is. Heal's going to be a starting pitcher, but if they need Clark Schmidt in games 1 or 2, then he will be available.
So really,
but Heal's not available out of the bullpen.
What they're saying is it's a coin flip between who we want starting game 3, Schmidt and Heel. Like they're fine with either of them starting, because if you just take those names and out of it and you're like our game 3 starter, you would never have your game 3 starter pitch potentially in relief. Like he would just be your game 3 starter. He wouldn't be available.
So that's why I think it's that close. But if they did need one person out of the bullpen, it would be Schmidt, and therefore
instead of Heel.
So yeah,
would that makes sense as well.
It does make sense as well. But clearly they're leaning for Schmidt to be the starter in game 3.
But see, that's where then this argument you're like, well, if you would prefer him to be the game 3 starter,
that would mean you need Heel out of the bullpen, which they don't trust.
Okay, so not only would they rather have Schmidt be the game 3 starter, they rather have Schmidt be the guy out of the bullpen.
100%. He's the only of the two, the only one available out of the bullpen. Heel's not even available out of the bullpen right now. Like it's not even a consideration.
It's a bit of a tough spot. I know you said it doesn't affect Schmidt one bit. I don't know. That's a little bit tough because he has to. He showed up to the ballpark today on Saturday thinking I might pitch tonight.
Yes. And that's fine. I think that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But he didn't.
But he's also saying I might be starting on, was that Wednesday?
So yeah, I don't think he messes with his he's doing his tossing in between like he normally would. And if he has to be able to throw from the bullpen, which how do you prepare for that as a starter anyway? You don't.
Couldn't he, if he threw out there? If he threw 25 pitches tonight, couldn't he have started on Wednesday?
Well, they're wet pitches. Okay.
Oh, and they would have just seen him, so that's a competitive advantage and all that.
They're wet pitches. He's got to warm up for them.
He's throwing spitballs.
It's a totally different situation at this point. It's in the game. They're high effort impact pitches that are not the same as a bullpen. Yeah. I don't know. No, but then obviously they have no problem with Heel, starting the game. So I think it's close in their mind, but there's only one they trust out of the bullpen.
And realistically, if Schmidt pitches in the bullpen in game 2, what kind of situation is that? That's Rodon can't get out of the 4th inning.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think he's there. Like, and they said this because I think he's going to be the first. If there's a sign that Rodon tomorrow or Monday, I keep saying tomorrow because MLB trained me to say tomorrow
because that's what a normal postseason schedule is.
If he's available, if Rodon gets into trouble in like the 3rd inning, he's going to get pulled for Schmidt. That's what I think.
But maybe you'd pull him for a short reliever to get out of a mess, and then you go to Schmidt.
Fine. Whatever, however you slice it, I think he's going to be the long guy from there.
Or
to keep it at bay.
It's the 11th inning and you're going to go to Schmidt for potentially 3 or 4 innings.
Maybe that too. But I think that's a moot point if Rodon shows signs of any trouble early in the game. Because I don't think they're going to let him work out of it. They kind of let Cole work through it a little bit today, like a little bit up to 80 pitches, but not with Rodon. You don't do that.
He hasn't earned that.
No, I don't think he has, and that's why I think that they have Schmidt as like he's kind of a fire extinguisher long guy for them. He's a de facto safeguard so that they can. I think they're going to put obviously a huge emphasis on being very careful and winning this second game.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's important. Yeah. It's an important game.
You don't say.
Huge, some would say.
Glaber also good night offensively. I know we mentioned the base running mishap, but home run on base a couple times. Led off the game with a walk, I believe. He
walked twice and a hit. So he was on 3 times. He struck out in that
4 times he was on then. 2 walks, a hit, and a home run. Or his hit was the home run.
His hit was the home run. Yeah. So that's 3. But yeah, no, he had a good. He had a good game. He had a good game. And, Wells in that 5th inning. So again, like they went back and forth. And then it was the 6th inning. I'm sorry. That was when Verdugo took the 4-pitch walk. I mean, it was not even a competitive at bat. So to give Verdugo credit for that walk, he stood there with his bat on his shoulders. There was nothing great that happened there. But that's when Glaber struck out, Judge struck out, swinging, and Soto hit a ground ball single. So you have guys on, and Wells came up 2 outs, big hit, ties the game. So yeah, that was a 2-out hit by Wells that he has been struggling big time. So the fact that he got that big hit was huge. And then Stanton again takes 10 minutes to throw a good run to first base and got thrown out after a very long play at third base.
Who's winning a foot race, him or Sal Perez?
Yeah, it's close. That send. Oh yeah, we forgot to even say that. Thank you very much, Royals third base coach.
Because that could have been an even bigger inning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sal Perez was shocked running around third to see the windmill going because,
what are you doing there? What are you doing there?
His big ass is not scoring on that play. No. He's just not. No, he's not. Is he 40?
I don't know.
Is he 40? He's close to 40.
He's 40 and runs like a 50-year-old catcher.
Yeah, I mean he's still fantastic.
Still dangerous in the box. Still. She's a dangerous hitter, but
he's a fat bottom girl. You know what I mean? Like he'd run around. It's not
shaped like a pear.
Yeah, it's not what you want.
But Stanton, I believe Stanton physically could lap Sal Perez 10 times over.
He's got the regulator, the governor on him.
Like,
you don't know how to do it.
Exactly. It's like his legs won't.
He's like, I'm going, but I can't. It won't move. It's like my brain won't send the signal to run faster. I know my legs can do it, but I might pull something.
Definitely overall good to win this game when they did not play their best baseball, which is encouraging because they play a cleaner game and this is a 7-2 victory or something like that.
Yes.
So that's very encouraging. I think it'll be interesting, like we said, what happens in left field in game 2. Do they go to Dominguez? I think I'm in favor of just riding the hot hand. If Verdugo went 0-4 tonight, then fine, play Dominguez. But because he had a couple hits, including the go-ahead, he hasn't had. When's the last time Verdugo had something positive?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. So the fact that he's done it, you might as well keep this guy on his high.
Probably that Red Sox game at Fenway Park in whenever that was, the first half of the season.
And look, there's something to be said about team chemistry too. And after that hit, you could tell. I don't know. You read the dugout. You read these guys reacting to him in that moment. You could tell that it was like F you to the world. Like I did it type thing. Like
I've been the worst player for 6 months. Yeah, so now
sorry for saying that. But they've it was you could tell that it meant something between everybody. And there's something there with them. Obviously, it's not like Dominguez has come in and right. Gelling with this team immediately. He hasn't been there all year, so it's a very difficult thing to do. So there is a bit of team chemistry, I think, that you do have to consider when you come to the playoffs as well. There's a lot of emotions. This is when the nerds. This is when I dismiss nerds. I dismiss them full go is in the playoffs when you have to feel something because the baseball is just different and it's really hard to have a sample size to show up that's going to prove out what's going to happen. It's really difficult to say that.
And I just frankly do believe in momentum, and I do believe that you can take he can take positivity into his next game and just perform better than he should because he's feeling
he's confident.
Right.
Confidence is like it's the biggest.
And Judge right now,
it's the biggest push over. Judge is not
exactly. No one
that's
is
that
more
conversation
talented.
with Rizzo. That's what I'm saying. Like that dude's not confident right now. That's really what I was getting at. There was a lack of confidence in that conversation, which I didn't like to see.
And no one's more talented than Judge and more capable. And
Right.
he's just not confident right now. So you can see what confidence or non-confidence or
Hey
or
man,
being
Steve
unsure.
Pearce lit up the postseason when he was with the Red Sox after playing with every single
He was
team
the
in
one who
American
won the
League East.
freaking. Didn't he win World Series MVP or something?
Yeah,
like that?
and he played in. I think that year. That year, I think
Talking
it was
about
that year.
2018, right?
He played for Tampa, the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Red Sox. I think
then
the Blue Jays. Maybe he played on the Blue Jays too that year.
I don't think it was all that year. I think it was in his career he played for all those teams. He never played for the Yankees. Steve Pearce never played for the Yankees.
Yes, he did.
He did?
Yes, he did. He 1,000% played for the New York Yankees. Steve Pearce. Yes, and he was bad. He was not good. And then he went and lit it up. He lit it up with the Orioles, and maybe he wasn't on Tampa. He lit up with the Orioles. I think he was on Toronto.
He did. Oh, he played for the Yankees in 2012.
He was on the team.
And then in 2018 he played for Toronto and obviously the Red Sox.
Okay.
He hit 270 for the Red Sox in the regular season. And then
Yeah, he had a pretty good year. So Verdugo, exactly. You just have guys who show up in opportune moments, and maybe Verdugo could do that. Because guess what? If Verdugo does do it, I'm not going to talk shit about him anymore.
And then he hit in the World Series 333 with 3 home runs and a 500 on base percentage.
He was like,
No, yeah,
he was possessed.
If Verdugo has a good postseason and helps the Yankees win a championship, I don't want him back next year, but a lot of people are going to forget how bad he was all season.
Yes.
He gets an invite to Old Timers Day if he helps the Yankees win a championship.
The fact that he was bad all season will be a footnote in what he did in the playoffs. And that's just how it works. So.
And unfortunately for Judge, obviously it's never going to be the exact reverse, but at a certain point, there's only so many regular season MVPs that people can cheer for if they're not.
No, Judge needs to get a big hit. He needs to get a big hit. For him, I think he just when I say feel good, I don't mean healthy. I mean just like feel good, confident at the plate. Like I think he rips a double in the gap or just finally smokes one into the seats. Like you'll start to see him back, but he needs that. He needs to get some good at bats with some good contact, and you're just not seeing it right now.
All right. That's going to wrap up our Game 1 recap. We'll be back at you again after Game 2 on Monday night. We'll talk to you then.